Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a man is left with serious questions after filing for an open records request that was opened by dispatch. Plus, seatbelt safety is one of the most important parts of driving, but just because it can save your life doesn't mean everyone takes the advice.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning. My name is Amelia Lee here with you on WYMT on this Monday, February 3rd, and we are at 5:30 this morning. We're also at the time where we check on in with our friend meteorologist Megan Duswell for a look at that forecast. And Megan, I know we've been talking about how some of these temperatures are a little bit warmer than they were in the past few weeks. And I know Punxsutawney Phil said 6 more weeks of winter. Do we have any hope for an early spring?
Well, it might seem like it this week. We still continue to see those warmer temperatures, but as we head into next week, we look like we start to go back to normal for this time of year. So enjoy this early spring as we're going through the next couple days. And it honestly will feel like it too with the amount of rain chances we have in the forecast this week as well. Here are those current temperatures as you're heading out the door, though. Mostly quite warm in the 40s, some places seeing the 30s. But some places are even warmer than that, seeing the 50s right now. 54 as you're traveling towards Irvin and 52 in Moorhead. Now, here's those afternoon highs, and look at that. We're looking mostly in the upper 60s, but with those mostly sunny skies, the 70s are not out of the question for some cities in the region. Satellite and radar is clear right now. We are watching the clouds moving in our area, though, so that's one thing to consider. Not going to be able to see the stars this morning if you're heading out before sunrise, but as you go through the next couple hours, here is that forecast hitting the high temperature around that 3 o'clock mark. And we do have that slight chance for rain as you're heading into the overnight hours of tonight and into tomorrow morning. Amelia?
All right, Megan, thank you. A Laurel County man says he is left with more questions after filing an open records request with London Laurel County 911. That request was tied to the deadly shooting of Doug Harless by a London police officer. The man says he received his records by mail, but not before dispatch employees opened his package. As Samantha Valentino shows us, he's now wondering if he was the victim of a federal crime.
Last Tuesday, I made an open records request.
The request was for records showing who had received a copy of a dispatch phone call without an open records request. That call was between Judge Executive David Westerfield and a London police officer from the morning after Doug Harless was shot and killed by police. The call was first shared to a newly created YouTube page.
I wanted to see who leaked the audio on January the 8th.
Jarvis requested the records be mailed to him, but he came home on Thursday to find a delivery attempt note from FedEx. He went to the store and handed the note to the woman at the counter.
She says, "This has never happened before. These gentlemen over here in the corner actually have your package."
Jarvis took this photo of the men, who he says later identified themselves as Larry Walls and Tyler Pierce from London Laurel County 911.
Said, "We're redacting information and we're removing information that wasn't pertinent to this open records request."
State law allows agencies to exclude or redact certain information from an open records request. However, that agency is also supposed to explain to the requester what statute allows them to do so.
They said, "Look, we had to redact information and we had to remove information." They didn't tell me why and they didn't tell me what. They just handed me what was left.
Jarvis says he was left to wonder if what they did was illegal. Federal law says it's illegal to open mail addressed to someone else. According to information on FedEx's website, a package sender can request that the package is returned to them as long as it hasn't been delivered. Jarvis says he's now working with the FBI. In Laurel County, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
London Laurel County 911 shared a letter on their Facebook page signed by Larry Walls and Tyler Pierce. The two men, Jarvis says, opened his package. In the letter, they say that they went to FedEx after realizing they left personal information unredacted. When FedEx gave them the package, they say they redacted personal information before giving the records to Jarvis. Reporter Samantha Valentino reached out to them last week to ask several questions, including if they explained what statuses allowed them to redact that information. In response to her question, they said they, quote, "stand by the statement that we released." A former Laurel County teacher and basketball coach was sentenced for enticing a minor online. William Goodson was sentenced to more than 20 years in prison. Goodson exchanged sexually explicit messages with the victim via text and Snapchat. Goodson convinced the victim to engage in sexual contact in his classroom on multiple occasions. 4 people are in jail following a search warrant executed at a home in Somerset. When police were surveying a home on Ringgold Road, they suspected drug trafficking. Detectives then noticed Walter Smith going into the home. After failed attempts of knocking to get in, police forced their way in. They later found meth, fentanyl, guns, and various paraphernalia. Smith, James Martin, David Lettner, and Donald Jasper are all facing charges. An Estill County man was sentenced for conspiracy to distribute oxycodone. According to his plea agreement, Chad Newman of Irvine conspired with others to distribute oxycodone from January 2019 until April 2023 in multiple eastern Kentucky counties. During that time, Newman obtained pills from a source in Louisville, which he would then sell to drug traffickers and drug users in the mountains. 2 Hazard men were sentenced for trafficking meth. Clifton Plowman was sentenced to more than 15 years in prison with the intent to distribute 50 grams or more of meth. According to Plowman's plea agreement, police recovered multiple bags of meth from the car he was in during a traffic stop. The bag contained 22 grams of meth and 2 sets of digital scales. Herbert Allen was sentenced to 10.5 years in prison for possession with intent to distribute 500 grams or more of meth. According to his plea agreement, Allen knowingly possessed with the intent to distribute a kilogram of meth. When police obtained a search warrant for Allen's home, he admitted to them that a backpack containing a large amount of meth was found inside a vehicle. Police found the meth, plastic baggies, and a large amount of cash. Lawmakers will reconvene in Frankfort this week. Many bills were filed with the intent of making Kentucky safer. One bill aims to keep previously convicted predators away from kids around Halloween. Representative Chad Ohl says House Bill 42 would ban those who committed a criminal offense against a minor from Halloween-related activities 14 days before and after October 31st. Representative Ohl says he is modeling the bill after one seen in Ohio.
Other states are doing it. We should do it. I found out we didn't have anything like this in place.
While other community-wide events are being considered for future legislation, Representative Ohl says Halloween needs its own bill. The Harlan County Fiscal Court signed a contract agreement for a broadband expansion project. The Fiscal Court entered into a contract with Thacker Grigsby Communications. In a statement, Judge Executive Dan Mosley says once the project is complete, the homes, businesses, and community anchor institutions of Big Laurel, Bledsoe, Pine Mountain, and Strait communities will have access to great internet service. 40 years ago, a landmark law passed to drastically increase the number of folks wearing seatbelts. But WYMT's Caroline Mueller tells us why safety officials say too many people are still not buckling up.
It is a simple click. But in a traffic crash, it can make all the difference. Data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and Kentucky Transportation Cabinet show wearing a seatbelt reduces your risk of severe injury by 50% and reduces the risk of death by 45%.
If a person is unrestrained in the vehicle, they get into a crash, if they hit that windshield, even if the vehicle is only going about 40 miles per hour, that force is equivalent to somebody falling from a 5-story building onto the ground below. So I think people underestimate the impact even at those lower speeds.
In 2019, Perry County had the highest number of seatbelt-related deaths in the state. That is part of why Kentucky launched the High Five program, focusing on communities with low seatbelt usage and high crash rates.
If it's as easy as buckling your seatbelt can save your life, we want people to do it. We don't want to write tickets. We're not wanting to punish people. We want our neighbors to be alive and healthy and not die if you don't have to.
Now, the county falls closer to the mid-range compared to others in the state. Perry County Sheriff Joe Ingalls says even crashes that look minor can end up deadly.
Just skidding off the roadway and striking a tree. Car not really damaged a whole lot, but we've seen instances where the driver it's resulted in a fatal accident, and this was because the driver and passenger was unbelted. So that seatbelt greatly improves your chance of survival, and it's very easy to be ejected. I don't think people really realize how easy it is to be ejected or thrown from a car.
82% of those ejected during a crash are killed. The statistics speak for themselves. So buckle up, every trip, every time. In Perry County, Caroline Mueller, WYMT Mountain News.
Safety officials say they hear many excuses of why people are not buckling up. One being they are just going down the road. But most deadly crashes happen within 25 miles of home. You can learn more about the Hi-Fi program on our website, WYMT.com. When we return, Backroads of Appalachia is working on something off the track as the organization tries to show off the happy side of the mountains.
And rain chances will stay in the forecast for most of this week.